Hello everyone, it's been a while, hasn't it? Today I have got 12 books to review for you because we are absolutely inundated with new releases and I really have to tell you about them. I'm not going to give each book a huge amount of time, but I'm so excited to show these to you. And you know, keep in mind that some of these might be rather good choices for Mother's Day, you never know. So first up, because it's Irish and because I am too, I thought we could try this one. Now, that's The Zookeeper of Belfast, written by S. Kirk Walsh, and it does come to us from Hodder and Stoughton. Now, I have to put this in the right place. There we go, lining it all up perfectly for cameras. Look, it's a really worldy one. You know, it's based on a true story, set in Belfast, and set just not just at the time when there was going to be tensions between the IRA and the RUC, but when we were also having a world war. So there's a young zookeeper, Hetty, who's just been given a job in this zoo, and she bonds with and is given the care of a little Indian elephant called Violet, who's about 2 or 3, and then war breaks out. It is a zoo, dreadful things did happen, and there are little passages which might be a weeny bit sad, but oh look, it's a glorious read. I very much appreciate books that are true life, you know, based on a real experience. So I think that might be a very good one. It has a lovely ending, don't worry. But yeah, a bit of a goodie there, and brought me straight back to the home country, which I said with my Yorkshire accent, which is a bit odd of me. Second one up, look, I read this, it's been out a month or two possibly, by Kelly Hawkins, and this is Other People's Houses, a rather smashing cover on that one. I would call this sort of very untaxing crime. I rather liked it because of its premise, which is a woman who's obviously grieving and missing both husband and child in a backstory that you get as you read through. And she does a lot of drinking, and grief can do that, and it is one of the excuses, if you like, for some of her own bad behaviour. I like this. I like that our main character, it doesn't always behave very well, but she loves going to house inspections and sort of looks at the perfect lives that other people have and takes little mementos away. It's not about that, it's about this, but it's also about, she comes to one really rather smashing house and she recognises the woman, and then she sees that that woman is behaving rather badly and doesn't deserve her family. Fascinating. Yeah, a really good read, great fun. Thoroughly enjoyed that one, so that goes on the pile as a good read. NICOLA Moriarty, and what the Moriarty sisters do, we are well aware of what they can provide us with in terms of entertainment. You Need to Know, another Australian author. Yeah, this is another easy to read in a way. Some of the storylines in that, you know, we have a mother of, we've got 3 generations. We have the older mum and her 3 sons, and then their daughter-in-laws and respective families or not. And there has been, a lot of it is, and Moriarty does this very well, a lot of it's quite hidden. You're not really sure what has happened before until the very, very end, but she lets you suspect all the way through. There are a couple of surprises, but you have these 3 sons, and you have the perspectives of the women in the book, the wives or the girlfriends, wives mostly, and it makes for a very intriguing read. You also get the mother point of view as well, and things that you don't see coming, because the brothers are not all necessarily what you might think they are. But yeah, look, very different lives, very different women in their lives and very different relationships with each other, but a really, really good narrative on hiding, on secrets. Yeah, good one to while away a weekend or some me time. This is a little bit different. We've got Claire Fuller's Unsettled Ground. Now, Claire Fuller has English writer, and we have had 1 or 2 of hers before, or maybe only 1. This book, Unsettled Ground, is shortlisted for the Women's Prize, which is, you know, definitely a very big distinction for her. She's very clever literary writer. In this we have Dot, who's again an older woman, and she has two 51-year-old children, Julius and Jeannie, and in the very first 5 pages of this book, Dot dies. But the thing with Claire Fuller is that she lets her main, or this elderly woman, die with such tenderness and such attentiveness that you almost feel that she's kind of feathered this death. And this whole narrative is a little bit feudal in a way. I felt that she has these children who are now left alone. They're grown-ups, but they kind of aren't. Not that they're simple, but it's just that they've had this very one sort of attendant upon the manor house kind of existence. We're in this sort of rural, very snow-covered territory. It's absolutely gloriously evocative, and it's about who they really are and how are they going to survive the aftermath of death and of people preying on them maybe, and certain truths come to light, written with great deftness. An absolutely glorious read, and you know that you're in very, very good hands for a considered slightly bleak in places, but ultimately not. I very much enjoyed that. Now this one you all know because I talked to you so much about Circe by Madeline Miller and Pat Barker's The Silence of the Girls. This is another gem. It's actually a debut. It's Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. This one comes to us from, I better say who it's from Wildfire. So it's hard to do those classical stories really, really well, and she makes an absolutely stunning stab at that. Written from the point of view of Ariadne, as you may remember, Ariadne is the sister of the Minotaur, so the King Minos of Crete. His wife philandered, you know, the gods always do these things, and delivers this half bull, half human, and it's quite terrifying in places, but it's gloriously visceral, uncompromisingly unfavourable in its look at the gods and how women usually come out pretty crappily when the gods are farting around, excuse my French, but you know what I mean. So, but written with great precision, great and passion. I think that's what I like about it. It's she's not being precise and historical about it. She's written a humdinger of a novel. So get your teeth into that one. This book knocked my socks off. And at first, and I'll be totally honest about this book, New Animal by Ella Baxter. I think Ella Baxter is a genius, and I think New Animal is amazing. And when I first picked it up, I looked at that fig and I said, oh my God, that's going to be sexy, and that's not for me. And she does. She writes about sex and about death, and I would love to give this book more time. I'm going to be very quick on it today. It is hilariously funny. It's very brilliant, but it explores things that aren't for everybody, perhaps. I overcame my reservations because David read it and he said, what are you on about, woman? It's brilliant, you've got to read it. She's not trying to make us laugh about sex and death. I mean, though there's a lot of laughing. The main character in this is does cosmetics as a mortician, so she's looking after dead bodies, and probably as an escape from that is also having a lot of sexual encounters and gets involved in kink, and some of that's a little bit graphic. There's not an awful lot of it. It's just this kind of counterbalance to the dark of what she does. She's got this zany dysfunctional family, and maybe she's running away from that too, and she doesn't give you too much of all of that. But I laughed and laughed, and at the end I cried and cried, that lovely crying where you just go, that is so beautiful. It's a very beautiful book. Don't underestimate it. It's for every woman from about 17 up. And yeah, I thought it was an absolute stunner. That's from Allen and Unwin. Really, really, really can't recommend that one highly enough. Another one that's an interesting, and so you have to not work at that. Ella Baxter doesn't make you work. Patricia Lockwood, she makes you work, and no bad thing. I like to be made to work when I'm reading a book. This one is called No One Is Talking About This, so it's a Bloomsbury. It's an astonishing read, the first half in 2 parts. So the first part, not for everybody, I get this, is very much talking about, it's broken into fragments and it's all about all the things that happen on the internet. So what we're interested in, or our main character is interested in, is what is so fascinating with the internet? What are the things that captures her attention, takes up her time, and how does she make her life out of what happens on the internet? And how absorbing, how important is all that? It's about the meaning of life. But it's when we get to the second half of the book that it becomes a lot more interesting, because real life then impinges, and there's one of those phone calls or one of those texts from her mum which says, "How soon can you get here?" So it's her sister who has found out that the baby she's carrying is affected by the Proteus syndrome. So we're talking the elephant man baby. And it's about how we negotiate this real thing, this living, warm creature and its distress and its tragedy, and set that against all the kind of tragedies that are on internet, which are very real, but presented in a different way. I think you have to work hard for the first half to get to the second half, and now I've realised you have to go back in and read it all over again, because she's terribly, terribly clever. And some of the things in the first half are that kind of fragmented writing, and they're all associated. There's a lot of wit. There's definitely a lot of culture. So it is a gem, but it's not your easy read. Now, 2 that are not, these are all fiction, 2 are not fiction. Pip Williams, as you all know, wrote one of our standout sales for last year, which was The Dictionary of Lost Words. And this book she had written before, and they've just brought it back out again because due to the success of the first book, but also because you know you're in the hands of a really good writer. So Pip is talking, it's a memoir, so she's talking about one Italian summer when she and her husband and their 2 young boys decide that there has to be more to life then. They're looking for some kind of, I suppose, meaning again. So they basically up sticks from where they were living. They were at the Adelaide Hills, and they've up sticks, or at least they moved from Sydney, I think, to Adelaide Hills, and then she can ring me up and tell me I'm wrong if I am. But the important bit is they end up doing what's called woofers, which is the willing workers on organic farms. So they're going to be doing sort of small time frame work jobs over in Italy. So they go from Tuscany down to, they go across to Amalfi Coast, then you go down to Calabria, and there's a lot of travelling around Italy, and it's all described in terms of how they are greeted, how the children, how these families welcome them, how their children get on with their own schooling, what they learn about the land, because this is particularly Pip's husband, Shannon, that's his big thing, is what the land will do. And she's into bread making. That was a thing last year, wasn't it? Look, it's a very light, very sun-filled, very glorious, very frank, very amusing, and a very meaningful kind of read, because at the end there are all these experiences, and then she wants to know what she's supposed to be doing with these, which of course is why the book came. I think it's a very lovely, almost relaxing, because you take all of the heartaches and the things that go wrong in your stride, and you say, yeah, that was life, that's learning. So a lot of bravery in that book. Totally loved it. That's non-fiction. The other non-fiction one that you've all seen, but I'm putting it up there in front of you again, Sarah Krasnostein's The Believer, and that one comes to us from Text Publishing. Look, we all know about her first one, The Trauma Cleaner, and that kind of knocked most of us sideways. This one is a little bit different, because she is dealing with all of those things that we might or might not believe in, but kind of that is huge. I mean, we can write volumes on that. So that is, she has reduced it or confined it to the stories of 6 different people, and what they want to talk about, the things they believe in. So you've got UFOs and the way groups, the way, you know, that there are groups that come together to talk about UFOs, there are sightings, there are true stories, there are anecdotes, and these are all related. She relates these through first person, or the perspectives of these 6 people that she's talked to. There's Death Dowlas talking about life, death, the hereafter. There's believing in God, believing in creationism, believing in the devil. There's absolutely everything, even believing in what you should be doing with your life. So prison reform, that you might have to murder someone to get away from them. It's everything, and I can't put it down. It's beautifully interspersed. You don't just get one person's narrative all the way through. It's interspersed, so it's chopped up, so it becomes in you know, manageable bite sizes. that's a great one. Now I've got 3 more, and I'm straight up, I've only read bits of both of them, but this one, Morning Riser by Katherine Heiny, now that's from 4th Estate. I started that one the other day, and I said, oh my goodness gracious me, she is so funny, a kind of a Nina Stibb style humour. So this is a woman who ends up in an American town, and of course she falls for and has this sort of fling with the town's Lothario, Duncan. And I've only really got that part. She's a primary school teacher, and everybody seems to have had an affair with Duncan, and he seems to have had an affair with everybody else. I think that, no, everybody seems to have had an affair with Duncan, so he's had an affair with them too. That was logical, wasn't it? But she makes you, it matters. I mean, she's got this terribly light-hearted, bubbling sort of warmth going through this, but it's not a page turning. Each page is quite dense. Her writing is very, is detailed, because everything is important in it. It's really, their characters are great. I'm finding it an absolutely joyous read. It's sort of a romance, but it's also how you choose, how that man, Duncan, chooses what's he running away from, and he has an ex-wife and why. But it's not, it's also about the whole community, and how the whole community says, oh yeah, Duncan, yeah, we know all about him, and you know. They're not telling her to steer clear, because Duncan's really very nice. So it's, how is this going to pan out? Who are the other people who will become important, and will children come into this? Because if you have a serial lover, well, he's a serial womanizer, are you going to have kids with him? Another one that I've, oh, I'll put it there first. Another one that I have started reading, only because I read an awful lot of Robert Goddard when I was, you know, younger. And although I liked them, I felt that they were becoming a little bit formulaic, and that we always had this slightly older, middle-aged man solving the problems, and there was usually a younger girl, and I was kind of, a bit bored of that. This one is very different, and I think I'm liking it. So we have, it starts in Tokyo, and our protagonist, Umiko Wada, is, she's really the secretary to a detective, but she gets sent for one reason or another to London to, well, there are a lot of things going on in her own life, but she's sent off to help detect over in England. So it's set in London, and I'm very much enjoying the playfulness. He's moved out of his formula, and he's written from a woman's point of view. It's more cozy crime, or whodunit, and I think it's a jolly good one, and I think we can all be quite happy with that, and that's from Bantam Press. And the last little one, and this is, you know, yeah, you could see this one coming, couldn't you? For a dear, I love this one. It's from Hachette. It's called Dear Mum, and it is a series of letters written to mums who may be still alive or may not be, and they're mostly pretty life-affirming, very joyous, but they're all sorts of well-known Australian writers, actors, well, any politicians, I don't know, sports people, celebrities, people that we know. But some of those letters are really very beautiful. Some are full of regret, some are, do you remember how annoyed I was with you over this? Well, you know, yes, Mum, it was me who stole your handbag. That's my story. Yeah, so I mean, I just think it's a very gorgeous little gift for Mother's Day. It's got lovely little illustrations inside it, which I don't know whether you can. Actually, if I leave it there, you can see it. There are some little illustrations. Sometimes it's poems. Sometimes it's just long letters of love, affection, and I think for Mother's Day it's one to keep in mind. So that's my pile. Now I'll put it all up in one. You know what to do, guys. I've given you the list. I've told you a bit. I'll do more again, but they're stunners, and there's more to come. So I'll be doing another one, I don't know when, soon. Come in and see me. Bye.